Hello and welcome to the Dance of the Soul with Regan Forston and I, Natasha Venter. We're both here to help whoever is here to gain their better, greater knowing about what happens on other side of life, and what happens in our soul and why are we here, purposes. And there's this dance that, the more that we know why our soul is here, it helps us very much to negotiate. Hi, Kate. It,
Yeah,
it really helps us to negotiate a lot of our dance about, why do we struggle with fears? Why do we struggle with anxieties? Why do we struggle with relationship problems? Why do we struggle with so many different things that interact with us? And that's why Regan and I are here. Regan is a hypnotherapist who works with the Newton Institute, and then and I know the other person that you were doing, but then her name just slipped my
yeah,
head.
and the
Uh,
quantum healing hypnosis technique.
yeah, the quantum and
Or-
and you can say that. I'm gonna struggle with that a little bit. Hi, Veronica. And then, with me being the psychic medium who I remember being born, I remember a lot of the contracts coming in. So for me, I have a very quick avenue, I'm going to call it, to why is a soul here. I really connect with my soul. I have connected with my soul my whole life and actually talk with it. And she's more feminine than masculine. I know I've had masculine lifetimes, but I'm more feminine. And and with Regan, with his lovely awarenesses that he's gained through his ages, and
Mhm.
different scenarios that he's come into in his life. And then me, life puts me not necessarily through life situations, but puts me in a witnessing situation. So I witness a lot of people without judgment. So I can take I use my hawk idea to be able to negotiate through, seeing the bigger vision. And then I use mouse energy to see like I was looking at the playground and all of a sudden there's a fly on the playground, and I noticed that fly, because I noticed the bigger picture of the playground, notice the bigger picture, and then I noticed the fly. So I try to do that little dance here. So it's one of those things that when we're going through scenarios and negotiating something. And Kate, I know you're going to be asking some questions here. And what Regan and I have found is that if we can have a conversation about what we wanted to, maybe I'll answer your question first since you asked that real quick. But what we like to do is have kind of like commercial times that we answer certain questions. But since you're doing this at the very beginning of the show, I will do this, but what we wanted to talk about, which we're going to dance into this conversation real quickly, is what happens to the soul after it leaves our physical body. And actually, I'm going to even put in a little bit because people wonder what happens to the soul if you have dementia or Alzheimer's or those kinds of things. And why does things have to last so long? And so we'll talk about that. But Kate, since you wonderfully typed in this question right at the very beginning, I haven't had a chance to read it, but I will do this real quick. So let's see here. So she says, I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this as it may be classic as a medical question. I've been feeling generally unwell for the last couple of months. I went to the doctor and got blood work. So she's going to finish this off here. Today is anything and concerned about. I'm too impatient. Ha ha ha. Thank you. And then she says, I completely understand if you feel uncomfortable answering this. I, you know, Kate, thank you. Because I am not a doctor, but I do check in with the body. And um and not necessarily so I'm going to tell you, since Kate, you're giving me the permission to tap in here and I can kind of scan your body now, not seeing you face to face and that kind of stuff. I'm going to give this disclosure that there might be a little bit of gray area in here, but you are very strong in your connection here. So with that I do see that you have and remember, I'm not a doctor, but this is something that I'm just getting, is that you do have a small infection going through. And I don't want to call it a blood infection, but it's kind of like where you might have um oh, what's the word I want to use, that when you start eating the wrong things, you start negotiating the wrong things with your body, and then you get into a cold or something like that. Then there's this kind of like this discomfort, dis-ease, not disease, but dis-ease that gets into the body. And that's what I feel like is that you've gotten into this negotiation with your body. So what I'm hearing from your guides and from my guides is that if you can get a cleaner diet for a little while, even if you can for 6 weeks. It's not a punishment, but a cleaner diet. In other words, try to get off the sugars, try to take some natural teas, drink some natural teas that where they're more organic, get off like dairy, get kind of cleaner in your body. Also, I feel like, did you take some of the vaccinations? So with that you may want to go through, and there isn't necessarily, charcoal may not be the right thing for you, but there is some other natural cleansers, plant-based, that can help you cleanse your blood, your tissues, and that kind of thing. Also, too, that if you're understanding that our planets are really pushing us around a lot, and I really feel like that you're hypersensitive to what is going on in the astrologies, in the up in the planets. And so with that, really check in to see what planet you might talk to an astrologer and see what planets that are affecting you in your in your health area of your chart, that might help you to negotiate some of these things that are unearthing. And then at the same time, yeah, so and two, if you're feeling very low energy, check your adrenals and your liver and gallbladder, because the fact that a lot of times when we're not filtering our life very well, and our adrenals are the thing that really pump us full of energy. And I know a lot of us are struggling with adrenal blowouts or adrenal energy blowout. And so with that I even had to negotiate that with me, which basically I had to clean my diet out to get my liver, my gallbladder, and my adrenals and my thyroid to all work at a better scenario. So with that you might, I feel like that you almost need to go through the metaphorical car wash with your body a little bit. Not a punishment by any means, and it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect, but if you can kind of take a step back with your body's food intake and get cleaner for a little bit. I know that as we're going into this different weather system, you know, eating salads might not be right, but if you get the bone broth chicken soup, might be better for you than let's say eating a hamburger for dinner or something like that, unless your body really asks for it. And what I would do too is that if you know about muscle testing is where you put your fingers together like this, and you put one finger inside the other. Okay, so you put your pointer finger and your thumb together, and this is for people on podcast, and you do it with both hands, like you're going to put glasses over your eyes, and then you put your finger in, and then what you do is you put your fingers in between the other two fingers, and then you try to pull them apart. Okay, so then you ask, what is my yes, what is my no? And whatever opens up would be your no, and whatever yes is that, or whatever it says, your body. And what I do when I was going through my having to clean my body out a little bit more, which I'm gonna have to do again because I've been hitting the sugar a little bit too much lately, is that I've asked my body, do you want protein tonight? Do you want chicken protein? Do you want beef protein? So even tonight, my body wants chicken over beef. And so with that negotiating your body a little bit to see if, like for me, I had to get down to just celery and peanut butter. And the peanut butter I used was Better peanut butter. It wasn't one of the name brands. It was one of the kinds that I had to mix in the oil. And then I would put in the good honey in with it, the one that is local, the one that crystallizes. I would mix that in. So then I would get my sugar because I love sugar, get my sugar intake, but yet the celery and the peanut butter was something that my body just craved. And celery is a natural cleanser too. So with that find those things that can help you out with negotiating. And I feel like that if you go into the astrology and you go in and you clean out your system, because you don't necessarily have an infection, but you have a dis-ease of the body because you've gone through a lot, and you feel like you've gone through a lot of stress. And when we go through a lot of stress, our adrenals get blown out, our liver and our gallbladder, which are filtering our emotions, right? Because the gallbladder is so much about emotions. And when we're filtering that kind of thing, it does help. So I do help. So she says, very interesting. I thought I was possibly low iron. Thank you. I appreciate that. So it's, yeah, but low iron is a cause and effect of your body not running at top speed. And so with that, if you can do a little bit of that, negotiate a little bit of your diet and clean it up, eat as much organic as you can, more bone broth instead of just the Campbell's, or whatever, canned soup. Go and get something that's more homemade. Like my grocery store even makes homemade chicken soup, so I can even go there, and because I'm not a very good soup maker. And so with that, doing that. So and you don't have to do it. Don't go into restrictions like, oh, I can't eat this and I can't eat that, because that's even detrimental to the body. But what you can do is you can go, you know what, body, and talk with your body. I'm doing this for our better good. I'm going to do this so we can get uplifted. I'm going to do this so we can do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compromise, and instead of eating, go to the store and getting the prepared cookies, make your own cookies. You know, make like oatmeal raisin cookies or something that is more has more organicness to it, so that you can have those things to help you out. I hope that helps. So thank you for letting me do that real quick, Regan. I appreciate that.
No,
Now let's get on to our our
one
show.
more thing. Kate, what you can do too, when we talk about the muscle testing, there's probably, I'm just guessing, a whole lot of videos on YouTube. I guess kinesiology is
Uh-huh.
called kinesiology or whatever, but it's used by many medical professionals in the natural apathic sense. Sometimes they use a pendulum, sometimes they do the finger. There's all kinds of ways that your body will give signals on what's right and wrong for it. And it's been used for hundreds of years. It's a very timely, well-tested procedure. So you might find some other ways. Otherwise, look in your phone book for a naturopathic doctor and call them, and you might be able to make an appointment, go in, and they can test you with, I know I've been to one before that she had about 100 different samples of different foods, and she went through each one and with my body and just decided what was good, what was bad, that sort of thing. But you might get some help that way if you can afford a session with a good naturopath.
Yeah, and if that naturopath doesn't fit you, go to another one,
Yeah.
because they're individual. And my dad was actually a chiropractor who did applied kinesiology, and so I grew up with the muscle testing and the understanding and that kind of thing. And I balance out naturopathic and medical doctors, because there's two sides to every coin.
Yeah.
And medical doctors will, they'll say, if your blood work needs to be in between 37 and 68, and you're at 37, they'll say, oh, you're good. Where a naturopath or somebody might say, that's a teller. You're at 37. Let's look at that a little bit deeper. And so, yeah, so she says, thank you. She says, thank you both. I'll have a blessed week. And you too have
Yeah.
blessings.
And
So,
one more thing with Kate too. Just check in with yourself too to see with your how much stress you feel right now with life and everything. Kind of go through. A good way to do this is get the Insight Timer app. Listen to some of the music on there that's good meditation music. get yourself really, really relaxed, and then ask yourself, what are your biggest stressors right now in your life?
Hmm.
Think of your life as the stress you have is like a forest of stress, and some trees are giant, and some are just medium, and some are little bushes. But just try to find out what that number one stressor is, and you and then ask yourself what you can do about that. Maybe it's letting go of something, or maybe you just need to relax. My significant other today went and got a massage today, which she's got so much stress going on right now with everything going on in her life. So she was smart, says, you know what, I need a massage. She's going to have an afternoon to relax and meditate. And that always helps her figure things out. So, there's usually some sort of something that's the cause of all this dysfunction in your body too right now.
Exactly. And I feel like that you kind of come into the other side of a lot of your stressors. Yes, I definitely need to give meditation a go. And meditation, I want to give this disclosure out there that meditation, when you sit there and go, is good for you. Some people can do that. For me, I lay in bed and I breathe and I relax and I breathe. And that is my meditation. That is my quietness. Or I can walk. I walk around the yard, look at plants. That is a form of meditation. So do something to bring blessings in your life, lightness, breath. Remember, breathe, because if the body doesn't breathe, the lungs don't breathe, you will not. That's one of the ways that your body releases toxins is through your breath. And so remember to breathe it out. And if you want a deeper session, remember Regan and I both do sessions on the side. So besides the show, so uh, uh, it's it works brilliantly if you can spend some time quiet and listen to the body. The body is something that really will tell you what it wants, especially if you muscle test with it. Because that's one thing I notice is that, like I listen to the guides, but when I'm working with my body, 90% of the time, I will muscle test because that is my body answering my body. So I always say, okay, body, are you willing to answer some questions? Yes. Okay. Can I ask you, is it my liver? Oh, yep. Is it my gallbladder? Not as much anymore. Is it my adrenals? Yeah, not as much anymore. So, and I didn't fully ask that question, but I asked the question in my head, what is something that is a little bit off? And it said my liver. And so I'm doing some work to help that out.
Yeah.
I, yeah, we,
Okay, we'll get on to where we go when we die in a sec. But uh, since we're on this and people listening, there's so many different ways of it's work. People have to do change. In other words, nothing changes unless something changes. So it's going to have to probably change a few things, and that could be difficult sometimes for some people. I'm even making little changes, but she can do it. People can do it. Meditation will help her to calm down and to get to her subconscious and everything too. But one of the things I'm schooled in and certified in is the quantum healing hypnosis technique. And if you, Kate, if you want to take this even further, you could find someone in your area that does it, or you can even do it on Zoom. I could do it for you, or anybody else. And what they do is they get you really deep in trance, which most people can achieve. About 90% of the people can. And actually, in that point, there's a point where you can talk directly to your higher self. It's like a little bit further than doing the muscle testing, because you're face to face with your higher self, and your higher self can tell you what's going on sometimes. And even your higher self can even do a body scan and for you. This has been done, probably 100,000 times with the quantum healing hypnosis people, and they've had miraculous results that way. So
exactly. And as you said, Kate, that she said I've heard nature is a brilliant way to meditate. Oh yes.
oh yeah,
Have you ever driven down a road with really nice music on and trees on either side, and you're going in and out of the daylight? It's mesmerizing, and it's so wonderful. So yes, take that time for you. Put you on the list.
yeah.
And I also have meditations for the week. This week is what is this week's? Yeah, I just blew a break. Oh yeah, that was. I'll find it. I know what it is. My brain is just went because you got me into a session, Kate. So I apologize. But I do meditations for the week, and so mantras for the week. There we go, and that will help too when you have that talk. I'm becoming healthy. I'm becoming healthy. I am healthy. My body and I are healthy together. I am healthy. Whatever you can do with that, I am finding my motivation. My health is motivation. I'm finding the foods that will align with me. Whatever mantra you can do to help your body be, because that's where we're at in life right now. That's where we're basically at.
All right. So today, with the
Excuse me.
next part of the session, and Kate, I guess was Veronica with you watching?
Yes, yes. There's
Okay.
a couple other people. The
Okay. Good.
mantra is I am safe and I am loved.
I'm
I am
safe.
safe and I am loved. I
Yeah.
am safe. I am loved.
You see, one thing I learned as being a hypnotherapist in hypnotherapy school for a couple of years is that words actually have power, and your subconscious knows what different words mean. Like when you look in the mirror and say, "I love you," to you're looking at yourself.
Hmm.
Your subconscious sees another person over there, and it knows when you're looking in the, when you see a person that you really care about as they walk in the door, your significant other comes in, and all of a sudden you go, "Whoa, hi!" It has these nice, does nice things to your body. So when you're looking in the mirror, even if you don't love yourself too much, even in the day, but you look in the mirror and just do the best you can and go and put energy into those words and just go, "I love you. Oh, you're so beautiful." Then your subconscious sees the person that you really like, and it's really interesting how my clients that do that over a period of time say, "Oh my gosh, it's so interesting because now when I look in the mirror and I just happen to get a glance at myself, I smile at myself like it's a good friend that just came in the door." So you know, words. That's why when you're saying, "I'm healthy," it's a lot better than sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm so sick. Oh God, why do you give this sickness to me? And what am I going to die?" And it's like even if you're not feeling well, just get those words and your body will respond
Will
appropriately.
align with it, yeah. And that's the thing is I love this conversation because I'm gonna actually, Kate, I love this question because this is gonna be our intro into what we wanted to talk about. Where does our soul go? And like she says, is our subconscious on both sides? What is it is it connected to us to the other side? And there's so many things when our soul passes, when our soul ends this in this physical body. And I have an understanding that our soul, and that's another show we should probably do,
Mhm,
is what is connected with the soul and what is connected with the body.
mhm,
you know because the fact that I have an understanding our soul when it leaves this body, that our soul has a mind, it has a knowing, it also has a subconscious, it has those things because of the fact that when we're talking about past lives and that kind of thing, that are those past lives interact with our subconscious, which is our subconscious is kind of like our memory bank. Our subconscious is that part of us that kind of goes, hey, what about this? What about
mhm.
that? And then as we live in this lifetime, our subconscious picks up things and puts it in the bag of what the subconscious of the soul is. And this is a bigger conversation, but it is a negotiation where our soul has a lot of what our body has. It's almost like two different, it's not different things, it's all one. But as the soul leaves this body, it takes things that this body has learned and brings it with the soul. It's part of the akashic records, it's part of the knowing records, it's part of that dance of what is really there.
Yeah. What we sometimes there's another way of looking at it too. It's like we have a subconscious and then we have like a super conscious. Now it's all the same in one, but sometimes breaking it down into different aspects of ourselves kind of helps. And we find out that sometimes in hypnosis, you get to talk to the subconscious, but there you can go deeper, to I think when you go to the subconscious, and that there's a point when you know what to do, is you can open up a doorway that's right behind it there that goes to the supercomputer, which is
Mhm.
your higher self, like a subconscious, and then your higher self, which is part of your subconscious. But if you want to go, really just to the nitty gritty, when I do past life regressions with people, we usually get to that point, of once they pass away in that past life and they're above their body, uh, which all their illnesses just go away. I mean, sometimes I've had a lot of clients that die from respiratory, seems to be a big way that people go in the past,
Mhm.
respiratory issues. And when they're just about to pass away, and I ask them, I said, what's going on? They go, oh, it's just so hard to breathe, I think. And I say, are you ready to go? And they go, yeah, I think they'll say, yeah, I think this is going to be my time. And then I say, okay, 1, 2, 3, you've just passed away and you're out of your body now. And then they, even when they're in trance, their human body just goes, they go, oh gosh, I could breathe. They're actually in their soul body, but so they don't have a physical body to breathe, but there's that feeling, since they're so close, that, wow, that I'm done with that. Or if they've been going through a painful death, of
Mhm.
torture or something like that, and they're out, and then finally they're free, and so all of that, all of that goes away, um,
Yeah. And I now I want to say that so Kate, like those gut feelings we get. Yes, our gut feelings are either our higher self speaking to us,
mhm,
or our soul talking to us, or even our bodies knowing. Those gut, our body knows. Like there's sometimes where I'm ready to take a vitamin, and my body goes, "Heck no," because it's not time for that vitamin, and so it has a gut reaction to what we're doing. And that's the thing, is that when we move on, our body moves on, that this lifetime that we're in becomes a past life, and so the illness that we do have in this lifetime can have an effect in the next lifetime that we take. Like there's many people who I interact with that they die at a certain age, and they struggle living past that time in this lifetime because they've had so many lifetimes where their body has not lived on
yeah,
very long at past that time, and so their body is struggling with health during that time because of the fact that they're not going forward. And so that's when we work together, and I say, okay, it's time for you to own it and claim it, and say, I'm writing a new contract, I have a new opportunity, let's move forward, I'm here to live and be blessed. And when you take that opportunity to live past what your soul has gone on to, like cats usually live, to 12 years old, and if they live to 18, it's like their body goes, huh, hey, I'm supposed to, but then they're like, what, hey, I can still jump up and down, and let's go forward. So
mhm,
like that, be where we're at. And many times, like if we do get an injury in a lifetime, past lifetime, our arm keeps getting cut off because of wars, well, we're going to have an ache in that arm for a little while, and this lifetime, and going in and healing those lifetimes, you can heal a lot of your body here. And that's one thing that going forward, that it's not necessarily that our soul holds on to the trauma drama, but it's almost like a stamp in time on our soul. And
mhm,
our soul doesn't necessarily go back to that ache and pain, but yet, like for me, I was in a car accident when I was 7 years old, and a lot of the trauma that was with my neck got reapplied because of that accident. And so but that was a great opportunity for me to heal a lot of my past lives. So when the soul goes on and moves forward, it does a lot of blessed work to get this lifetime that we're just in righted. It's like a ship being righted.
yeah,
And it spends a lot of time doing that.
yeah. You never know. When people have different issues, sometimes I hate to say, well, just have a past life regression, you can find out that it came from another lifetime. Well, you're going to find out it's about probably, I don't know, 75-25, but 75% of the time your issues that you have were caused from something in this lifetime, something you haven't dealt with. But then there's that other 20. If you research, you can't think of anything, you could even go to a therapist like me and do a regression in this life, try to see if some of your issues came from this life. And if you can't find it, then you can say, well, let's check another life. And a lot of times, it's very, very common if you have a past life regression and you ask your higher self when you're there, where did this start from? And your higher self will show you where the beginning of your problem came from. Just having that realization a lot of times will make it go away in this lifetime. It's like,
Mhm.
because then you realize, oh, that was then, that doesn't have a relationship to my life right now, or I don't need to go through that right now. I was just hanging on to it from from the past. It's just like, like healing. So when we get sick, now what Kate had didn't sound like it's life threatening or anything. It's just going to be an adjustment, for her to be healthier. But for other people that might be looking to have people going through this difficult time right now, because we're losing a lot of people. I know, Natasha, you've lost quite a number of people in the last
This year.
this year.
Mhm.
And I know I have a couple other clients that have had one, two, three, boom, people go. It's very difficult as we talk about grief and other things before. But you don't have to worry about those people that left because they're in good hands. And I'm just telling you from now, Natasha mentioned I work with the Newton Institute. Well, we have a process where we help people achieve a deep state of relaxation or trance, which most people can reach. And in that state, you're able to go to the afterlife and back. Some people call it heaven, the afterlife, whatever you want to call it. And while you're over there, you can ask about your health issues. There's like all kinds of advanced spiritual, beautiful beings. Some just like Natasha has contact with it, that talk through her. But on this other side there, you can kind of get a tune-up. There's places to rejuvenate. Like my clients, a lot of times will ask the guys over there, can my client go to this place to rejuvenate? And they're in deep trance, and all of a sudden they're in this beautiful place with with lights or waterfalls or things, and they can just feel it. Just transit goes even down to their physical body. They can just feel that healing, that you know beautiful thing going on. And that's usually on the way to where you go. Like as Natasha, I guess what we call it is that when people pass away, they go home. In other words, this is their temper. In our bodies in here, we found out from research with 70,000 cases that we're born on the other side, and we're just down here to learn and grow. And like it's like going away to college for a little bit, and then when you graduate, then you go back home.
Mhm.
So, people all the time, even in trance, they'll say, "Oh, we won't tell them what to call it." But many people in trance, when they're trance there and they're about ready to pass away, they go, "I'm ready to go home. I want to go home." And then when they pass away, and they get to see their friends or relatives that have passed on, they go to this beautiful place, and it is beautiful. I've been there 2 times myself, through this process. So I know that it's real. It's probably not like you think it is in a way, because your mind makes up a certain way that heaven is or whatever it is. It's physics and things is a lot different over there, but it's different enough that when you come back into your body here, you go, "Whoa, that was something."
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
you know, it's time for me to go, it's time for me to go. I know that even though part of me wants to be here, that I know it's like being in a play, and you just love the play you're in, and you love the characters that you're interacting with, and you get like, so I did acting for years, and the ensemble, you get so close over 3 or 4 months of rehearsal, and then you do the play for a month or 2 months if you get held over sometimes, and then it comes time, it's the last show, and then everybody's going to disband, and there's that heartache everybody has, and they're hugging everybody, and you'll think you have lifelong friends, and then that's over, and 2 weeks later you're going for another play, and you just almost forget that other experience because
Mhm.
now you're in this new play, and that's kind of.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing is that, as we're going through the process of passing, there is I would say that, there's a lot of people that when they watch the physical body, they wonder if the soul is hurting. And it's like, no, it's not. Many a times the soul isn't even, it's there witnessing, but it's not necessarily in the body. But the body goes through a primal wanting to breathe. It's a primal wanting to be here. And there's a lot of, there could be the image of fear in that. There could be the I don't want to go part, I don't want to die part, because there's that part of the mental mind, this mental mind that is struggling with this idea of not being able to breathe anymore, not being able to say hi to our friends physically. And I find that people who have a lack of belief system are the ones that struggle more than the ones that have a better belief system.
Yeah.
Even though at that last minute, I've had a couple friends who did intuitive work, and at the last minute they were like going, I don't know where I'm going, because the fact that, well, for one, the drugs that they were on to take away the pain of the physical body having disease,
Mhm.
um, played mental games with them. And so it took away their ability to connect to the spirit world. And so then the logistics of that fear came in because of the drug induced scenarios. And so that's the thing that we should be able to look at, or if we can look at, is look at the logistics around what's happening. And I know people who have I've had conversations with someone who, their parent was either Alzheimer's or dementia, and they were wondering, why is the body still cooking when the brain isn't here? And I go, because of the fact that the soul disconnects, it travels. It goes and sees its different family. It goes and does its different things. It negotiates a lot of different things, and it's still tethered to the body. And the way that I see this, that it's kind of like our soul is like the balloon, and the balloon comes down and surrounds us, right? But then when our soul goes for a walk, the balloon rises and floats away, but then there's the string still tethered to our wrist, or it's tethered to us. And that string, I can see that thread that attaches our physical body to the soul, and I can see if it's a healthy connection or a thinner connection. So in other words, when I see it thinning out, that means that that person's going to go sooner than later,
Yeah.
right? And so when I see a thicker one, then I know that that person's like with Regan. I see a nice thick one. You're going to be here for a while, right?
I remember.
And you and for me too, I see mine, and mine is really thick, because my tether. But yet at the same time, like for me, I can go off into many dimensions and still be tethered to the body,
Yeah.
where some people, they can do that. And that's why a lot of times when the soul and the body disconnect so much, especially with dementia and Alzheimer's, then the body runs on natural ability. It runs on, I can breathe, I can blink, I can swallow, I can do the primal things. I can do the logistic things, right? And
Yeah.
when it does those logistic things, then it gets on. It's kind of like a car that idles. It just knows how to do it until it runs out of gas. And the soul is what's actually here to help us to say, oh, it's our time right now. We need to stop breathing. We need to stop working. We need to stop doing. And
Well,
that soul does that.
one thing we found in our research and afterlife research is just like when people come into this life, there are some souls that will come get into the mother's fetus to be born right at the very last second.
Mhm.
Others that go in, it's usually 2 or 3 months when we ask the question, when they're in deep trance, we say, when did you decide to come into the womb? Most of them, it's about halfway point, and but they don't just come and stay in the womb. They kind of go, like they come down, hook up a few wires, because you have to kind of, it's kind of hook up to the human body, and then they go back to heaven, back or the afterlife, and then a little later they come back and hook up more until they're ready. Well, it's the same when we found out when people die sometimes. Some people, they get sick, boom, they're just out of their body out they go, right back to home. And there's others that take their time, in other words, it's like preparing to go to the other side. So
Mhm.
a little bit of them will disconnect and be in the afterlife, and the rest will stay, or they'll come and go and come and go, and until it's time for them to go. So everybody's kind of unique in that way, where some people go quick, other people, hang around, or they take their time. This is probably a good time to mention that case that I had where oh, to preface this, what we found out in our research is that when you decide to come down into your body, you decide how much of yourself, of your true self, you're going to put into the body. So in other words, you everybody has a higher self in a way, because not all of you's in the body. So let's say when we ask people in trance, they say, oh, I put about 50-60% of my energy into this body. That means the other part is home. So what that means is when people visit the other side, you can actually talk to the higher selves of people that are still alive in your life now. So I had one of my clients come up, and she was having to care for her mother who had Alzheimer's, and she was having a difficult time, because it's just hard day after day after day, and people with Alzheimer's live a long time sometimes. So I'm in a session with her. She goes to a past life, sees herself pass away, turns around. There's a guide there. We asked if we can go to the afterlife, and they go, yeah. So that we're communicating, in the afterlife. So she said, I want to talk to my mom, the part of my mom that's up here. And they said, okay. So there appeared to her mother, talking to her in perfect health and beautiful, this beautiful light. And she says, Mom, why are you taking so long to die? Why there? And the mom said, daughter, I'm not going to go for a little time yet, because I'm teaching you patience. Okay. So the mom was purposely, in that case, even with Alzheimer's, her higher self knew what was going on, and was going to have, part of herself in that body have on Alzheimer's till it was time. And her daughter had learned enough patience, and then her mom would pass away. Well, that gave her great relief. She saw her mom in a whole different way when she came, back and had to care for her mother again, because she had talked to her mom's higher self, who didn't have Alzheimer's. It was perfectly great, on the other side. So, everybody takes, it just depends on, when they go, you know.
Exactly. And that's the thing is that, we can choose, there's like different times in our lifetime where we kind of have exit points. And that's the thing is that a lot of us don't realize that the way we speak, the way that we talk can be the beginning of an exit point. You know, that's where I feel like a lot of people they start saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna try to preference this as they say, oh, this is killing me." you know, or I don't want to be here anymore, or that kind of stuff. And cancel, clear, delete this because I totally want to be here and I'm totally alive and I want to be here. So with our language can help preference one of those exit points that are coming up. And when we're doing those kinds of things, it's an interesting dance on being here. And that's the thing that, I wake up every morning and I say, I love you. I love you. I thank you for being here and doing that work. But when we're doing our soul work, when our soul is really trying to decide if it wants to cross over, it is a tug and pull. It is a tug and pull. But then at the same time, though, once we cross over, no one goes home alone. No one goes home alone. And when we say home, it's going home to love. It's just pure love. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you are. Even Hitler had this
Wow.
opportunity, you
Yeah.
know. Now, I'm going to tell you though that how you pass and who you are depends on the who is going to meet you fully. Now, like just gonna use the word Hitler. Hitler probably, when I can see that when he crossed over, he had a family member there, he had someone else there, but then he also had some logistic, and I'm just gonna call them angels, they're workers, they're light workers, who, some of them have wings, some of them don't, but they're angels. Um, and they took him and really took him to kind of like a special area to decompress, decomp de oh, what's the word? Logistically kind of say, this is why you chose this lifetime. Remember when you came in, you wanted to alter our world. You wanted to alter Earth. You wanted to do something that would alter the Earth, and you knew somewhere that you were going to have to make your own statements doing it. And this is the cause and effect because of how he was raised, how the logistics were, and the human aspects of it. And so the angels took him and said, this is the what you wanted to come into this world to be. Now this is what humanly happened to you, to have the cause and effect of the ins and outs and that kind of thing. So with that he went to a special area. Now someone who has committed suicide, I can see your eyes are really bothering you again.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it. We have physical body. We have the physical body, and so it's interesting when we're dealing with eyes and allergies and that kind of stuff. That
Yeah.
it's an interesting balance. And so with that people who commit suicide, they too get taken and surrounded with love and go through a kind of a life review of the who's and the what's, and each person might get a different type of life review and reason review. And then you have people who pass away like in a car accident, and they would be granted other scenarios because there's a shock value, because you're driving down the road and there's a big part of you that doesn't think you're going to pass, but yet there's something in the soul that knows something's going to happen. And there's many times when you talk to someone who, their family member passed away, that they had these kind of like weird last minute conversations with them. They had these like off things, or the person was doing certain things that kind of set up something. So the soul kind of knew that something was coming up, but they couldn't label it to give any heads up, because if we knew, then we wouldn't get in the car and then that scenario wouldn't have happened. And then all the teachings and all the learnings and all that stuff happens. But so with that they're taken in a special way. People who have long illnesses are taken, and people who pass away, logistically, like my mom with Lou Gehrig's disease. She had family members who were guiding her and helping her with angels. And I know that she didn't really want to go. I mean, I heard her say, "You're not taking me, I'm not going," because she was so wanting her body to still work. But in Lou Gehrig's disease, she had no choice. Her body was shutting down. And so with that, that's where, you have these different scenarios that happen. But I want everybody to know, no one goes home alone. No one goes home to be punished. Doesn't matter what your belief system is, we're all taken care of, because the
Yeah.
fact that the belief system is this human form, not necessarily the soul's knowing.
Yeah, every one of my clients that I've done a life between life session with, where first you go, the way we get to the afterlife is by having them go to a past life, see themselves pass away. And then we say, what's next? And when they turn around, in a sense, there's always, every single time, there's a guide, an angel, a loved one that's there. It's like you say, nobody dies alone. There's always, like everybody listening to this now or sees this in the future, you actually have some other advanced souls, I would say, guides, angels, or whatever, that are watching out for you. Through birth, through death, and it's just something that they choose to do as their job. In a sense, when you get to heaven, everybody picks a job up there, and depending on your degree of development, different jobs are available. Like you have, it's almost like going in for an interview, and the boss is looking at your job skills, and they go, "Wow, you've learned this and this and this. That means you could do this now."
Mhm.
And if someone says, "Well, I wish I could do this," and they go, "Well, you haven't quite learned that yet." but come back and you can have that job once you advance a little bit further that way. But it's nice to know. I mean, I met my guide up there, Rebazar, and Late Z is another one. I'm asking you now. See, and my mind keeps saying that I'm making this up, but I know that from when we do this, it probably not. But this guide that's been on my council when I went there 2 times and asked a bunch of questions was a Chinese looking, I call him Late Z. To me, he looked Chinese, that way, and the way he was dressed and everything. And so now I'm like, I'll say, like, how am I doing today? And then in my mind or something, I see him smiling at me or nodding or doing something like that. And I'm thinking, that's pretty cool. I mean, whether it's just, sometimes I say whether it's just my mind making it up or it's actually happening, it's a nice thing, because he's always, and it's funny because he's always so joyful and he's always so bubbly. Sometimes inside I'm going, don't be that way today. I don't feel that, don't try to get me to smile. And I feel guilty about that. And I think, but he was showing me this last week, or this thing I was seeing, that soul can be joyful all the time, when you're up there, just, you can just be love.
Yeah. Well, that's what love is joyful.
Yeah. And
It's
that's what
peaceful. It's tranquility. Like my husband can have a really rotten day and he goes, "How are you?" And I go, "I'm good."
Yeah.
But I sit in love 99% of the time. Now there's sometimes where I'm like really be tired and I'm just kind of human, but I'm still love. But Regan, if I can give you this, that if it's the first thing you hear, the first thing there's no time for your mind to interact with it. The first thing, the snap of the finger, yes, it's them. Now, if you sit there and go, sometimes it is them, but yet, but usually if it's the first thing you hear and see, that's our guides and that's our loved ones speaking to us, because it is that quick. Now I can decipher between my brain stuff and the spirit stuff because of the fact that I've practiced that understanding of the language.
Just practice.
Enough. Practice to do better.
Well, whatever it is, it's a good thing. And I'm thinking, makes my day better.
Well, and that's the thing is that when we're talking about our guides and our loved ones, that they are not gonna, they're not gonna be sitting there going, "Well, you're doing a fricked up job." They're not that way. They're gonna say, "Well, you're doing a great job. Take care of you, though. Remember you." They're always gonna say something, or they're gonna interact in a positive way than in a logistic negative way. And that's the way that they treat us when we cross over too, is they go, "Dude, you had a hard life, but you did the best you could. So remember that this was about lessons, guys. This is about lessons." And so I can hear them kind of talking about, some of them come across as, "Hey, dudes," and some come across as, whoever we are needing to meet us, that's who meets us. That energy transforms to be the one that we need.
Yeah.
So if we need, Archangel Michael to come, and we need Archangel Michael to be in his Bermuda shorts and tank top with a beer in his hand, that's how he's going to be. If Archangel Michael needs to meet us because of our logistics in his white coat, fiery sword, and the halo, yes, he'll meet us that way. Because that's how the universe hooks up with us in our personal belief system to negotiate us through that I'm going to call it portal, or whatever it is, the doorway into this next world that we're going into. And then there's the logistics, and that's where some souls, like my dad, he knew where he is going. He trusted it. He crossed over, did a conversation, came back, and he was back and forth quite a bit. My mom, it took her a little bit longer. She was a little bit more, I'm going to call it human crossing over. And so it took her a little bit longer to cross over and get the logistics about her spirit world. But my dad and I, we've done things a long time. My mom was a little bit younger soul than my dad and I. And so, there was that logistics of going back and forth.
Yeah. And my clients, I'd say the most popular or the most common way that my clients see their guides, the angels, and that is they're wearing robes,
Hmm.
different colors and things. Sometimes that's the most common. But I've had them before, where they just have this extravagant shining. Sometimes I had one recently, and they were in this armor, like a
Hmm.
soldier or like a warrior, kind
Hmm.
of thing. But I had one, and the guide showed up as a what am I thinking of? As a shark fin, and also as a
Hmm.
big shark fin. And we going, and my client in trance says it's my guide, and I goes, a shark fin? He goes, yeah. And I says, and then I always have them ask their guide, why did you show up as a shark fin? And then they get an answer that usually has something connected to what means meaningful to my client. You know.
Yes, exactly. And that's how the love world on the other side of this human form
Yeah.
does, is they want us to be as comfortable as we can going through that life altering experience of death,
Yeah.
and that soul has to go, oh, I'm not human in the human form anymore. There's a part of it, there's a part
Yeah.
of it that says I'm going home, and then there's a part that says holy niggle, it's
Yeah.
part of that moving forward, but yet it only takes a split second, and then we're like, I got it,
Yeah. I've had
I got it.
clients who talk to relatives that recently passed, like they're in part of the bereavement counseling that I do, and they say, "Okay, I hear you can let me talk to my dad," and I go, "Yeah," and so in trance, boom, then we finally find them in the afterlife, and I'm thinking I was surprised, but it's happened a number of times where they're like the dad that passed away still wasn't all the way home, but he was in the process of going home,
Hmm.
and in this case the father was reuniting with his mother and father and son his son in this life that had passed away. And when the daughter asked him, well, are you all the way home in heaven yet? And he says, no, we're just having this reunion right now. It's like a soul group reunion. And then
Hmm.
from there he was going to go on to wherever he's going to go in the afterlife or whatever.
And that's the thing is that over there too, like we on this lifetime, I always kind of talk about the soul groups, or like a rings of a tree. When you cut a
Hmm.
tree down, and there's some souls that were in the center of the rings and we're really close, and then as we go
Yeah.
out in the rings, that's our soul family. But it might be like the rings on the very outer part of the tree are the ones where, it's like you meet up at the clerk in the grocery store, and you go, hi, how are you doing? I really enjoy you, and you just have you have
Yeah.
this likeness for them, but they're not really anybody in your life that you interact with, but they're on that soul outer part that you
Out
just
of our,
kind
we
of,
call them.
you pick lifetimes where you just kind of meet up like that once in a while. You just get
Yeah.
comfortable with people.
Yeah, we call those just to be able to label things subgroups. Like there's the
Hmm.
soul group, and then there's the subgroups, and there's many of those. Interacting. But what I would say, just we can talk even more about this in another session about, because there's so many things we know now about what happens when you die, where you go, and what you do while you're there before you either decide to come back again or not. And but we call them stations. But the stations so far that we know of are, there's the place of rejuvenation that a lot of souls go before they go to get all the way back home again, a place to like recharge,
Hmm.
to
it's
to
it's
recharge
it's very
from life. Yeah.
unlightening to be here, and so we need to get our light back. We need to
Yeah.
get our life source back,
And
our
then
our life force back.
yeah, and then there's the soul groups that that my clients are able to go to, and then there's a council, which is another station where you can have prepared questions, and you can ask about your current life. Is any question that you want, and they'll do. There's the library that some of my clients go to, which maybe that's where the Akashic records are or something, because they sometimes will go there and there'll be a guide in charge that'll put a book in front of them. Sometimes it's made of pure light, and pages will flip back and forth, and they're seeing all their past lives. There's the place of recreation, which is kind of cool. That some of my clients get to go to up there, and they just have a ball. the different things that souls do for fun up there. One of them even found himself in a comedy club, on the other side. So I mean, it's just, and then there's places, like the station we call places of higher education or something. It's
Mhm.
like colleges in heaven in a way, but they have rooms for everything, like inspiration for music, for art, for dance, for techie, computer stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of places up there that my clients have gone to where they've found inspiration for different things. And then there's the other station sometimes they go to is where they're planning their next life. It's a life selection place, and they'll find themselves there, and they can actually see the different choices they have of what different lives they could have. And there's like guides in there, like, helping them to figure it all out,
Mhm.
on how they want to have all their scenarios, be. So I know I'm forgetting one too, but anyway, um, you know, um, that's the place at least that's been opened up to us at the moment, that they're allowing people that are still alive now to visit up there for a bit. And the main thing that they say that they've opened this portal of heaven, in a sense, for people to see, is to basically let them know that they chose their life. Okay, there's lessons that they wanted to learn. They have a mission, you
Mhm.
know,
To
and the
be
main
here.
thing is to let them know that they're never alone. That there's always other souls up there rooting for them to get on with their mission and everything. So, you know, when I asked if there were other places other than this, and one of the guides jumped up and went like this, like, you haven't seen anything yet, kind of like. So, but that's all that's really needed, because when you say, Natasha, what we really need right now and what you help people with and what I try to help people with is, see, you know, the difficulties and things you're going through in this life is for learning, and
Yeah.
you have some work to do. You chose to come down and learn these things, so don't bitch about it in a way, because it's just like you chose to go to grad school, and now you're complaining when you're in there, what that you want to go to grad school, and you want to go through the hard work to get to the other side, so that because you're going to learn there what you need for your mission, or
Mhm.
something.
And that's where, going through and getting help to have discernment, the stretch and the pull between what is something that we need to hold on, or is it something that our mind wants to hold on to, but our soul really says, why are you holding on to something that Jimmy did to you when you were 18 years old?
Yeah.
That is something that your mind wants to hold on to, but really, does that help your soul to move forward and go forward? And so that's the discernment, the separation that is helpful when you have help to separate what is the proper experiences that you want to learn from, or does the episode with Jimmy that you keep holding on to, what is it that he was here to teach you, so that you can move, say, okay, done and over with now, let me move forward so I can move into this next knowing of where we're at, because it is about experiences and lessons. And that's why I use the mantra all the time. What is this here to teach me? Why am I in this process of doing this? Oh, I'm about boundaries. Okay. Now, I may get the lesson a little bit cleaner than a lot of people because of my intuitive knowings and the way that I use life as a metaphor, and I observe what is happening to say, okay, well, I'm not being very good about saying no. Okay, well, that not being able to say no is about boundaries. And so with that, applying those different languages to help out. And that's why when we leave, sometimes it is that check off the box list that we need to do before we go, because the fact that we're here on such a short time, and what can we do to experience the blessings with the ebb and flow of up and down, to get those experiences, to learn how to negotiate better.
Yeah.
So we're about 5 minutes over. I want to make
We
sure
really,
Kate
wow.
asked a couple questions, and I want to make sure that I get
Okay.
Kate's answers here.
Okay.
um okay, and I think we did a lot. So meditation to go. Okay, and then so then I think this is it. Is subconscious both sides? We talked about that.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, and then Yep, and those gut feelings, and
Yeah,
then illnesses, karmic from past lives. That's where
sometimes.
I think we did cover that. That
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it's a little bit of yes and a lot of no. It's a little bit of this yes and a
yeah,
lot no. It's how we speak in this time frame. And that's where I like to work with the DNA of our lives and then work with past lives. So I work with the DNA of our family tree, our family line, and then I go into the past lives and see how they're connecting with us right now with some of the illnesses, knowing that a lot of this stuff is why are we not letting go of the stress, and why is our body holding on to so much stuff?
yeah. I mean,
Um,
what about people who die in tragic circumstances? Um, that's almost another show in a way. But
mhm,
um, you know, I know of people that when they went to the other side, I mean, when they went through a past life and then they went back home again, and they actually got to see where they knew in that lifetime that they were going to die tragically, you know. Uh, but sometimes, because of free will, we come down here to do a certain thing, and because of free will, we make a choice that takes us out of our template that we had in a sense, and things can happen,
mhm.
or souls that aren't developed enough. Sometimes when they die tragically, they're on the other side and they're kind of mixed up for a while until they get things figured out. But I would say most of the time when people die in tragic circumstances, it may seem tragic to us, but to the souls that went through it, when they get to the other side, it was just something they needed to go through, or that they had
Mhm.
planned on going through a lot of the time.
Yes.
That's the case. Um,
Ex
Kate, here's a couple of books to read with case histories from the Newton Institute. They've sold over 1 million copies. I mean, people really love reading these case histories. One's called Journey of Souls by Michael Newton, just like Fig Newton. Journey
Mhm.
of Souls. The other one's called Destiny of Souls. And there's another one called Wisdom of Souls. And it's some of the case histories taken from these 70,000 people that we've helped go to the other side and back. And there's chapters on like that would answer a lot of your questions in there. You can even get them on used books, because so many, I get them and give them away to my clients. Sometimes you can get them for $5 or $6, or get once you read it, you'll pass it around. I get so many people and clients, they go, well, my friend had this book and he gave it to me, and now I want to have this experience, kind of.
Mhm. Exactly, exactly. So, thank you very much, Kate,
Yeah,
for being
Kate.
interactive. Thank you very much. I'm grateful that you were here. And, Veronica says, "Thank you very much. Thank you for
Yeah,
supporting
Veronica.
us all the time." And
Always nice to meet people.
then we have, Dolores from Manchester, England. So hello there, late night for you. So with this, that I want everyone to know that no matter how we go home to love. We go home to love. And all of our family members, no matter what we believe in, here in the human form, we go home to love.
Yeah,
And please know that our family members, if they don't come and see you, it's more about your grief than it is about the dance of them where they're at. And so with that, they're always taken care of. They're always loved, no matter who they are. Now it depends on how they're navigated with. Darlis, sorry about that, Darlis. Um, that as we go forward and manage, that there's blessings for all. So with that I hope to see everyone on Wednesday with life clarifications with Natasha. I will be talking about something that happened to me this weekend about how we can let people live their lives. There was a scenario where there was a something going on with between a couple, and we had to let them get in the car and leave. And it was a struggle. And so, how can we let other people live their lives? And
yeah,
that could be controlling moms. That can be. So that's what I'm going to speak about. And it's going to be about a little bit of different things. So,
good.
um, how
And that's at
how
4 o'clock on Wednesday, right?
4 o'clock on Wednesday.
And then we'll be back here Monday again,
Monday.
and we haven't
Yes.
quite have a topic yet, but it always, it's nice we have people like Kate and Veronica, and what is it? What was her name? Was interesting.
Darlis.
Darlis, like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, first time I ever heard. I've heard that name. Okay.
Mhm.
So, anyway, oh, people can get a hold of me if you go to my website. You can see right down there, visittheafterlife.com. Some really cool videos on there. You can even see a person going through a life between life session where they go through a past life to the back, to the afterlife and back. It's like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour thing to watch on there. But also, Michael Newton's on there before he passed away. There were some great interviews, and he talks about how this was all discovered and so forth. And there's a tabs on there for regular therapy that I do with people all the time with hypnosis and using EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. There's some great videos. You can learn a lot on my website with these different things. And there's interviews with people on like Oprah Winfrey and that about past life regression and so forth, which are very interesting. Also, you can request a free book on my contact page. Reincarnation is Real, about all the current research being done all over the world on reincarnation. So much proof, so much out there. And we've pretty much, I mean, we've had 70,000 people have the past life experience. So we know it's real. So anyway, as I'm sinking here into, I don't want to go down,
Your camera keeps going
What
up,
day?
doesn't
I
it?
know it. This is crazy. Okay, maybe that'll last me for a minute, but here it goes. So whatever. So anyway, visit theafterlife.com and Natasha, I guess yours is angeliclarifications.com.
Clarifications.com. Yes, I am very much wanting to help people go through life. And if you watch this whole show, you can have my experience of how I can go from over here to over there and this and that. So, with that, I love to help people negotiate their life, going through whatever you are. I do it with lack of judgment, and I believe in pretty much everything out there that is dealing with love and light. So, with that, please get a hold of me at angeliclarifications.com. And if you've been watching this, please subscribe or like this wherever you're at, and know that you are so loved. And please come and watch us again and interact again.
Yeah.
Blessings to all.
See you next week.
Bye now.